When we're talking about postpartum conditions, which are mental health complications that occur either sometimes during or after pregnancies, there are several known risk factors that lead to our vulnerabilities to developing these postpartum conditions. And I want to list 10 for you all because although they may seem like just everyday life, they are actually risk factors that contribute to the development or the increased vulnerability to the development of these postpartum conditions. And the first one is when the pregnancy is unplanned or unwanted. Oftentimes, in this world of social media, in this digital age where we're able to produce and curate what we want the world to know about our family, or the expansion of our family, that's often always framed in the perception that it was planned or that it was wanted or is desired. But there are a lot of unwanted and unplanned pregnancies, and when that occurs, the myriad of stressors that occur because of something that is unplanned and unwanted, it increases your vulnerability to developing a mental health condition. The second risk factor is when there are financial problems. Financial problems add additional stressors, and stress releases cortisol. And a too much releasing of cortisol can put you in a state of chronic stress. And chronic stress, with that cortisol hormone, shifts the equilibrium, which makes us more prone to developing mental health conditions. So, financial stress, financial hardship is another vulnerability, another risk factor. The third one includes when there is a weak support system. Recovery for pregnancy, even during pregnancy, requires a group, collaborative community effort. And when you have a weak support system, either from your partner, your family members, and other people who are going to pull in and help you carry the weight of this significant event that comes with a lot of shifts, when you don't have that strong support system and all the burden and the extra pressure and the strain falls on you or just your partner, it can contribute to making you more vulnerable to developing a postpartum condition. A fourth risk factor is when there's difficulty breastfeeding. Breastfeeding is such a we could dedicate a whole episode to breastfeeding, what it entails, what the experience is, how much it takes out of you. Some have even referred to it as a part-time job. What are the pressures that we have on new moms to breastfeed, the time and the energy and the effort that it takes. And so the fact that when you can't breastfeed, it has many implications, and that is another risk factor. A fifth risk factor is when you have twins, triplets, or multiples. Many people plan for one. But what happens when you have two, or when you have three, or when you have multiples? That is a risk factor to developing a postpartum condition. Sixth one would be when there's challenges in your relationship, when there's relationship difficulty, relationship strain. We've seen the many myths that people believe that babies makes relationships better and it's supposed to be a cure-all and a fix-all for what's happening. But that is not true. We know that to not be true. Pre-existing relationship conflict will most often be strained or further exacerbated with the arrival of a new child because it is difficult. It is difficult. And we have a whole episode, 3 episodes dedicated to unpacking that difficulty. Now, certainly it's filled with many blessings, and abundance of joy and just a new experience, but it doesn't come without its challenges. And so when there's relationship conflict, it increases the likelihood of you developing a postpartum condition. Now, the seventh risk factor is when the baby has special needs or health problems. Again, what is the common thread we're hearing here? Stress. We talked about this in the earlier episodes. When it comes to mental health conditions, and postpartum conditions are no different. Stress plays a significant role in addition to biology, in addition to social support. It's what we call that whole nature, nurture, biopsychosocial factors is what we could refer to it in psychology. But that stress, these are basically common stressors that increase our risk for developing postpartum conditions. And when the baby has special needs or health conditions, there's more stress, there's more drain, there's more emotional turmoil, there's more uncertainty. There could even be a financial implication. It could strain the relationship, which we know is already a risk factor. So when the baby has special needs or health conditions, that increases the risk of you developing a postpartum condition. The eighth risk factor is personal or family history of other postpartum conditions. Again, going back to what I said when it comes to nature, nurture, biology, what's in our genes, epigenetics plays a significant role. So when there's a family history of postpartum conditions, it increases the mom's likelihood of developing a postpartum condition. And the finally 10th factor is when the history of postpartum complications in previous pregnancies. So if you are a repeating mom who had postpartum complications in previous pregnancies, it also increases your risk of experiencing a postpartum condition, which is a mental health complication in the current pregnancy.